Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So today I'll be starting a mini series for the rest of my talks. Every time I'll talk, I'll kind of be talking about the same general idea. And it started as a uh, thought that I had after getting certain questions from people that I know regarding doubts that they had in the religion. And one thing that I sometimes notice when people have doubts in the religion is that, subhanallah, they have one question, they have one thing that they don't understand, and it puts into doubt the whole faith, right? And I started to wonder, subhanallah, like if we were to be in a courtroom, right, and we were asked to make a decision, guilty, not guilty. One thing that the judge or the lawyers, right, would tell you is that you have to look at all the evidence and then you make a decision based off of all the evidence, right? So maybe one piece of evidence points in the direction of one verdict, another piece points in the other verdict. But what does the whole collection, right, point to? And I find that sometimes people don't really ponder over the information they already know. I see that a lot of times people want to give grand proofs. They want to start talking very philosophically and what have you to try to prove the religion and things of that sort. Or they entertain just the one doubt, and every time it's just, okay, we gotta answer this one question, right? And that's not a bad thing per se, but we should have more robust foundations of faith, such that maybe we don't understand everything. Maybe there's something that we just don't get, but we have so much other evidence in our minds that we're aware of that we have an unshakable faith, right? It would take more than just like one unsolved question. And so with that, I'd like to go through today, and each time that I talk, I'm going to go through one small piece of information that, inshallah, maybe everybody knows, but when we think about it, it shows a deeper proof of the religion. So today I'd like to discuss the fact that the Prophet Muhammad called Khalid Ibn Al-Waleed the sword of God. And it seems like an interesting, or kind of like, how is that, a proof that Islam is true? But when we think a little bit deeper about this point, we realize that it's kind of amazing, right? So let's say, for example, we were not Muslims for a second, and here the Prophet Muhammad is saying that this one person, right, is a sword of God. Okay, what does that mean? Well, that means that his victories are linked, right, to one of God's tools. Well, God never loses. So what does that mean? That means that this person can never lose a battle. If they lose a battle, the opponent could say, we defeated the sword of God. If he dies in battle, we could say, somebody could have said, I killed the sword of God. Okay, well, okay, fine. So Khalid can never lose. Well, in the history of all of human history, all generals, there's only ever been two people in the history of humanity who have been claimed to have never lost a battle. One of them is a super ancient Egyptian general, right? But with those type of, and I say the Egyptian brothers, like, ooh, subhanallah, like this is like ancient Egypt. I mean, we don't even know if it's necessarily all that true, right? We have very little data about him. And then Khalid ibn Walid, who we know for a fact never lost. So this time, if our Prophet Muhammad was not a true prophet, this would have been a insane gamble, right? Not just that, Khalid ibn Walid is not one of the early Muslims, right? He and two others are the last group of Muslims to convert before the conquest of Mecca. Okay, so that means that all the 13 years in Mecca, he's not a Muslim. For like almost a decade, right? For like 8 years in Medina, he's also not a Muslim. So the majority of the prophethood of our Prophet ﷺ, Khalid is not a Muslim. So it's not like Khalid is like a a person that has proved himself in battle with the Prophet, right? Yes, he delivers the defeat, or he delivers. We wouldn't consider Uhud a true defeat, but he delivers, the blow at Uhud. But really, that's the mistake of the archers coming down from the mountain, And he's given the title of the sword of God at the battle of Mu'tah, which is, again, at that point, how long has Khalid been a Muslim for? Not very long, because the Mu'tah and the conquest of Mecca happened in the same year. So there's not a lot of evidence, to go off of. Also, let's look at the character profile. Khalid Ibn Al-Waleed is a warrior's warrior. Warriors, they look at Khalid as their warrior. So if you were to have a conversation with somebody, let's say you were, in Mecca in the 7th century, you say, man, who's most likely to die in battle? I think everybody would be like, I think Khalid is the most likely to die in battle because he's such a strong warrior. He's such a fierce warrior. And so for the Prophet to make it such that if this person ever dies in battle, it would be a crisis of faith, is quite an astounding prediction. And so it is amazing that we find the story of Khalid at the end of his life, on his deathbed, sad. He's lamenting, like, oh, I have all these wounds, I have all these scars, because he wanted to die on battle. Right? He wanted to die on the battlefield, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not will for that. And later, I believe it's Ibn Abbas or other of the Sahaba who lived afterwards, that Khalid could never have died in battle because he is the sword of God. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never allow that to happen because only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can sheathe that sword and put away that sword. But if our religion was not true, right, that wouldn't necessarily have to be the case, right? And so this would have been an insane gamble. But it's not a gamble because our Prophet is not a liar. He is Rasulullah. And so when he said this is one of the swords of God and everything that implies from that, it's not will he die in battle? He was never going to die in battle because the consequence of being the sword of God means that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can take away that sword. And so Khalid dies on his deathbed. As soon as the Prophet said that, everybody should have known he was going to die on his deathbed. And that's what happened. Because there's no probabilities with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's all written. It's all in his control, right? Wallahu ghalibun ala amrihi walakin akthar an-nas la ya'lamun. Allah is in control of all affairs, and surely the people do not know. And so for anybody who gets a doubt afterwards, the question is, okay, maybe you don't understand one thing, but then explain this. Because if you're going to say that this is not a true religion, you have to figure out a theory to explain this. And inshallah, the next time that I'm here, I'll give another little small proof, things that we already know, but if we think about, again, it just adds, and we'll take it brick by brick. And inshallah, we'll have a foundation of faith that is, inshallah, unshakable to small winds of doubts here and there. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much.